There have been a lot of speculations about if there will be a spin-off show for The Flash on the CW. I don't think there will be. But if there were to be, whether it's on CW or Netflix or HBO Max or whatever, there's certainly two choices I would like. One is the obvious, which is Bart and Nora in Post Nexus, which has been kind of setting up for a while, but I don't think it'll happen. It'd be kind of fun to just have a show about them two, But I think the show that interests me more would be a show about Jay Garrick. Purely to see his origins post-crisis. Because pre-crisis, we didn't really know much pre-crisis. But post-crisis, we don't know really anything about Jay. So, at the end of the day, we're stuck with, we know it's the same Jay from Stargirl, which I know not everyone wants to admit for whatever reason. It's a fact that Jay from Stargirl is someone from The Flash, which Stargirl's on Earth 2, by the way. And we know that Jay's history on post-crisis is he was part of the original JSA. He is resumed dead after vanishing to some realm in that world. And he never got out. He's never to be found. During that time period, most likely end up on Earth Prime. And then, we're in the multiverse several years later, like around now. And talk about the Earth 2 to get the JSA. He joined the JSA again in the future. And he helps Barry and Justice League and the JSA. That's what we know right now. We don't know about Zoom. We don't know his history. We don't know Jay was still the man in the Iron Mask. I would assume he was. We also don't know how the hell Jay being on Earth Prime is connected to Barry now. Like, has he always been there? Since Barry became the Flash, was Jay there? And he introduced himself as Jay, and even though he was Henry Allen's doppelganger. Was he there for Barry when his father died? He made sure that Flashpoint didn't happen, because in this timeline, did Flashpoint even happen, right? We're assuming it did, because of Savitar and Dr. Alchemy and Wally being the Kid Flash. But those events could have all played out without Flashpoint. I think, no matter what, they would have played out. So, it is kind of interesting to think, okay, I hope they kind of touch on that in the series tonight for The Flash. But personally, I would love to see John Wesley Shipp get a present-day Flash show. It wouldn't go on for probably longer than 3 seasons. I don't see them, if it were to happen, 3 to 5 seasons max, I think would be perfect for that show. But it would just be about Jay. We wouldn't have a Team Flash because, Jay's always worked alone, pretty much. They can bring in Grant as a Flash, several years from now they do it. And have him reprise his role to help Jay fight Chronarch, there was mentioned as his name. Or the Flash, or, the JSA fight, whatever threat that was that Jay and the 313 of Stargirl, the series finale of Stargirl, that Jay was trying to get the JSA to help him fight whatever threat. I'm assuming on Earth Prime, because it's the same Jay from The Flash, obviously. So, it'd be a really cool experience to see that. I think. Because, again, John Mothership loves this character. He loves The Flash. He promotes the show more than the show does at this point. John's such a huge fan of the show and the character. Wouldn't it be sentimental to say, hey, you get your own show now? It is part of the Arrowverse, too. Granted, I don't know how I'd feel about Jay getting his own show and it being the last live-action show of the Arrowverse. Assuming Arrow doesn't get picked up for a 9th season. Which, I think, to be honest with you, I know I'm getting sidetracked, but whatever. In Arrow Season 9, I think it's more likely now that The Flash 909 aired. Because since then, there have been hundreds of thousands of people saying they want Season 9 of Arrow. We've wanted one for years. I've wanted one for years. But seeing where we left Oliver off in the Flash, where he has unlimited adventures here. You know, they can do a season 9 of Arrow and have him return as Green Arrow, like they did in the Flash 909. They proved they can do that, right? You can go to different Earths. You can bring back like Harry and Jesse, or I don't know, Prometheus, which would be so cool, by the way. Or you can bring back like the Flash version of the Oliver Queen version of the Flash, but like it's a complete like Earth Flash, like that Earth Flash is Oliver Queen. They could do something like that, or have like a one last Arrowverse team up on Arrow, and like Grant returns, Melissa returns as Barry and Supergirl respectively. That'd be something cool to do for an Arrow season 9. If it ever happens, which I would assume that it would. You can't tell me like 10 years down the line from right now, I won't be sitting here and saying, hey, we're still talking about Arrow season 9. I think like 10 years from now, definitely we'll get an Arrow season 9. I'd be genuinely surprised if we didn't. With all the hype that people want now for Arrow season 9. But nonetheless, a spin-off for the CW show, I don't think will happen, at least on CW. It could happen anywhere else. I do think, though, that Eric Wallace and the people at The Flash have been setting up for a while now that they're going to continue not only The Flash, but also the Arrowverse through something. And I'm leaning more towards the comics because, like, a Arrowverse canon comics thing, like with the Earth Prime comics that they started last year, they set up an event at the end of that 6-part issue, if you remember that. The Spectre came back and said that this is their biggest threat yet. And as of right now, we haven't gotten anything like that. And that was in, I think, 2049, wasn't it? So it'd be really, really, really cool if when The Flash is done, wait a couple months, they can work on it, during that time. And they come out and say, hey, we're releasing another comic event issue. This ties into Earth Prime Comics and the shows and, Rest of Legends, if they want to do that. And the 6-issue event thing, or however long it would be. They could easily do that. Or animation, which, I know for some of the actors like Melissa and Grant, they're probably done right now. I know Grant is. Grant's been doing it for 9 years. He did say in an interview he would be willing to come back if, he felt like it. But, in animation, don't even need to be on set. It's just, you sit in the booth for like 12 hours and you do lines. But, they kind of already do that for ADR. So it's kind of like, it's just less work for the actors. In voice acting, you just have to keep that voice alive, which for Grant and Melissa and Steven and everyone else is just their normal voices. So, animation wouldn't be too far-fetched, assuming it's on Netflix or something like that, which again, I don't even know what it would be for, but but if they were to do another live-action Arrowverse show, I do think the next best choice besides Arrow Season 9, which I think would be the best choice ever, would be a Jay Garrick show. And purely because it, A, be part of the Arrowverse, B, it connects more to Jay Garrick's arc than anything else that ever been done for Jay. And C, it would just tie in a lot. You can bring in Courtney, you can bring in Grant, you can bring in, Kenan as Wally. You can bring back Michelle Harrison as Joan, Jay's wife. You could do all that. It'd be so amazing to see John get a second chance to do a Flash show. In my opinion, a second chance to have a Flash show. And it's a seed. Because in the 90s, I haven't watched the 90s Flash show yet. I really want to. But I'm waiting till the CW show is done. To really, get into that. But, the 90s show, from what I've seen, it was pretty good for its time. Compared to now, it's it's not bad, but also, it could have been better. But, for its time, it was, peak. From what I'm seeing, it was good, And John deeply cared for that. You can tell when he talks about it. I mean, he really does care for that show, for the characters of The Flash and Jay Garrick. And, I mean, if John's up for it, you know, why not give him that show? Even if it's like a 1-season run or a 2-season run, you know, it would be successful. Right now, and here's how I can prove this. Look at Superman and Lois, okay? This is a fact. And this is, you know, my opinions of the show aside, because you all know my opinions of the show. Superman and Lois Season 2 finale is set up that's not part of the Arrowverse, okay? It was getting probably around 800 to 1 million views a week, okay, at that time. It disconnected from the Arrowverse, and since Season 3 premiered to now, it has gone down to about 100,000 views a week. Has anyone noticed that? Gee, I wonder what all those groups are. I mean, it disconnects from the Arrowverse and it drops like 400,000 views in the span of 3 weeks from it returning for its 3rd season. There's only one reason for that, and that's the Arrowverse disconnect. I said that would happen, and no one listened, but, you know, a lot of people don't seem to listen to me when I do know what I'm talking about, you know. There are things that I don't, and I admit that. But when I've been around a long time, and I damn well know when a show's going to go off the cliff, I think I have an idea of what's going to happen there. But, like, all serious though, like, you know, having a Jay Garrick show, part of the Arrowverse, piggybacking in a good way, not like Superman and Lois, off of The Flash, off of the Arrowverse, it could be one of the biggest shows in superhero history if it's done right. And depending on the writing, the CGI, and, you know, John Wesleyship and what he would do with the role, and, you know, in that show if it were to happen. Which, again, we haven't gotten anything about it. It's not like, you know, rumored script of a pilot for a Jay Garrick spinoff. It's just me thinking out loud that, like, I would genuinely love to see that, because I don't think we've ever really gotten a shot at seeing John as Jay as much as I would like, or anyone would like, to be honest. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've seen a lot of Jay, and I love that we have. But I do personally think it'd be really cool if we saw Jay again for, like, his own series, because I think John has earned that. He earned it. He deserved it way back then, but he's definitely earned it a lot more now, becoming Jay Garrick. I mean, when I think of Jay Garrick, the first thing I think of is John playing that role. I mean, he's iconic as Jay, and Barry, and Henry, but especially Jay. I mean, nowadays when I go on Instagram, I see John Wesleyship, it's all Jay Garrick. I mean, sometimes it's Flash, but, you know, it's mainly Jay. And that should say something to John that, you know, he has made the dent on this role. And a very well-earned dent on this role. You know, like Grant left a dent in Barry Allen. And John left a dent in, you know, Ezra. But, like, you know, everyone will leave a dent in all these characters. And I say a dent, I don't mean like, oh, just a... I mean, like, you know, like, when we think of these guys, we think of the characters. When we think of Grant, we think of The Flash. When we think of John, we think of Jay. When we think of Ezra, we think of, you know, a criminal. When we think of Ezra, we think of Reverse Flash, or, you know, which is not good, but, you know, we do. And, you know, when we think of Tyler, we think of Superman. Or some of you, Henry, we think of Superman. Or Robert Pattinson as Batman, or Ben Affleck as Batman, Marquine as Batman. When we think of these people, we think of the characters, right? Or vice versa. John, to me, is Jay Garrick, period. No one will ever top John as Jay. For me. No matter what James Gunn does, or, you know, whatever for the DCU, which will undoubtedly be a train wreck at one point. Like, in my opinion, that's what we're dealing with. So, I would personally love to see a Jay Garrick show. John wants to do it. You know, let's get it done. Let's do it. You know, 3 seasons, 2 seasons. I think it'd be really cool to see. But, yeah, thanks for this video. Have a good day. Have a good night. Stay safe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.